It's 2 a.m. I'm 31 years old, and blood is pouring down my face. And I am sprinting down Via della Corso, the main thoroughfare in Rome. An Italian citizen I had met earlier that night had tried to rape me and almost killed me before I climbed across 7 rooftops and buildings and down 6 stories in order to save myself. The attack was violent, and it was terrifying, and being attacked in a foreign country adds a whole other layer of complexity to sexual assault victims, right? You don't know the customs, you don't know the laws. The US Embassy helped me, but they're actually really limited in what they can provide for us. I don't think many people know that. And at that time, there were no US organizations with international sexual assault expertise that could help me. So, what do you do? Miraculously, my employer, ESPN, stepped in to help me. I had called my sister and said, Amanda, call Rob, my boss, and tell him I don't know when I'm going to be back at work. I don't know when you'll see me again, and tell him that I'm scared. Well, Rob called Chris, his boss, and Chris called his boss, Ed, and before you know it, they are providing me with resources and support. And they believed me from day one, so that's very important. I want to point that out. So what did that look like? They sent someone on the ground to me to find me in Rome. Okay, they contacted the Disney headquarters. They got someone to me within 24 hours. They evacuated me out of the country. And when I got home, they put me in therapy with someone who specializes in the kinds of crisis that I had been through. And they helped me with translations of my documents. They helped me find an attorney overseas that's very complex. And then they gave me the flexibility to work with that attorney, because remember, they're 6 time zones ahead of me. So I'm running around getting documents signed at the embassy, trying to do my job and take care of business. Their approach to me at that time is what we call today victim-centered and trauma-informed. And all that means is that they put me at the center of my healing by giving me resources and support. And they also knew that my healing would not happen in a straight line, okay? So trauma is very messy. It doesn't happen in a linear fashion. When I tell others, okay, what happened to me, they can't believe my employer stepped in that way, okay? The way that ESPN supported me is literally the reason why I didn't just survive, I thrived. And it sparked in me a passion about this topic, okay? An interest in it this past decade of my life. When women tell me they have no idea what their employer would do for them, when they can't answer that question or they say they'd never do that for me, I tell them you deserve so much better. Sexual violence is not just an emotional and physical burden, it is a financial one. And it is not accounted for in women's lives at present. And that's a miss. So how do we know this? Well, that's what the numbers tell us. Baked into that 1 in 6, the 1 in 6 is an attempted rape or completed rape. That's what that means, sexually assaulted. In that number is the 1 in 5 who are raped between the ages of 18 and 49, okay? Women, our prime working years. And what does it tell us? When we are raped, we don't go to work, or we drop out of the workforce at a rate of 50%. In college, it's 34%. So we're getting knocked out of our education and the workforce. So it's not hard to understand the CDC's number there at 122,000. If you lose your job, you lose your health insurance, you lose your security, things add up really quickly. Okay? So when we right now have 25 women helming Fortune 500 companies, and this crime disproportionately affects women, 91% of victims are women. And we're talking about diversity and inclusion, the removal of barriers, the removal of discrimination. We talk about, breaking the glass ceiling and kicking glass, right? Well, how are we accounting for this? Massive barrier, okay? So my idea worth sharing, the one that I want to talk to you all about, is making sure we're not forcing women to choose between healing and pursuing justice. Everyone wants us to report, right? And their job, their livelihood, their normal, their insurance, their source of income for them and their families. So there's 4 things I'm going to present to you right now. Buckle up. I'm going to go quickly. Do you know what your company would do for you? Can you answer this question, what your leave policy is if you are sexually assaulted? Yeah, I know. I've seen that look before. Here's what's out there. A little more than half the states. It's a hodgepodge. It's mix and match. And the worst thing you can try to do is retrofit a victim's experience to fit into all the different regulations of these various options. And at least half the states have nothing. Now, what they like to say is, it's employer discretion. So what I like to say to that is, let's get busy, right? Because what the private sector does, we do not wait for our cues to come from the government or from legislation. The best companies know that people are their best resource. And when that's it, when it's people first, then you start to listen to your people about what's best for them. So what I'm asking is that you clarify your policy. Ask the question, just ask the question. And once you get the answer, work to make it better, right? Work with your company. You can tell your employer what your needs are specifically for your jobs and the community within your company. And once you've clarified it, tell everybody about it. Why? When you tell people about this, it is the difference between an employee saying, I'm going to lose my job, I'm not going to bother reporting. It's not an option for me to do so. You want to get people to get healing and get help. You let them know they're not going to lose their job after this happens to them, that should remove that concern out the gate. Provide training. I'm a certified victims advocate, and I have been doing this work for 8 years. Here in Georgia, I've done it at Grady, and now I do it in Gwinnett. And what I can tell you at ESPN is I serve an informal role for my coworkers. The need is so great. There is so much need. The numbers are so high for this. So what I'm asking is that the person who is interacting with employees, okay, setting the policy, dealing with the affected employee, that they go beyond a 1-hour speech or 1-hour training. Because it's a risk management thing, yes, for the company. It's also a people management thing. They should know the full range of the effects of this crime in order to be the resource that the company needs and that the employee needs. And your local rape crisis center is just the best resource. They work so hard. I know because I work at one, and they have seen it all. And they can guide you on policy. They can alert you to legislation that you might find interesting, studies, or connect you to other resources. And lastly, for the supervisor of an infected employee, provide them a little more support. My boss, Rob, was also my friend. It hurt him to watch me suffer the way I was suffering. And he needed assistance. Okay, so it's not just about the victim, it's a village that gets involved, and I'm asking that you consider maybe providing some extra support. Flexibility, I mentioned this earlier, when you have an attorney 6 time zones ahead, you know, things get funky in the workday. But really, companies can do this, just bake it into a policy, especially big corporations. If you have outer offices that an employee can work at to be closer to her support system or family for temporary, consider it. Is someone in an open cubicle trying to take their calls from their attorney about their sexual assault? Could you maybe move them into a closed space temporarily? Is there a big project coming that maybe you could shift? Okay? Just get creative. We want to keep our jobs. You have to understand that. It's our normal. It's where so many of our friends are, and so many of us find purpose. This is so close to my heart. Okay, this is the big finish. We're getting there. We send employees to strange cities and remote locations all the time. I don't know what we're telling them if they are assaulted there. They don't want to tell their employer right out the gate. I can tell you that much. They still should have access and information that assures them confidentiality, that they will get 24/7 care. So the National Sexual Assault Hotline is a number any employee should have when they travel, because if they're assaulted, it will connect them to the local center wherever they are and give them their options. All they want is options and information. They don't want to call their employer to tell them in order to get that. Okay? They deserve to control how that information flows. Pathways to Safety International, this is what companies do not have, and if you are not partnered with them, your hazard insurance, your medvac evacuation, does nothing more than just remove someone from out of the country. It does not provide the services, the highly specific services sexual assault victims need. Forensics collection has to happen within a certain amount of time. It has to happen in a right way. There sometimes has to be police involved, and it's different in each country. The laws are different. So let me tell you about Pathways. They have 4 portals of entry. It is an international toll-free hotline, okay? Anyone can call it. They can be anonymous if they choose to, and it is confidential. And what's so great about that, these folks have worked with victims in over 100 countries. And they know the laws. They know that if you report your rape in some provinces in Thailand, you can be arrested, okay? That if you report your rape and you are a lesbian or you are gay, you can be arrested. That's really key information. They will get on the phone with the police. They will send an Uber for you. They will get you a hotel voucher to change, all without telling your employer. They don't owe your employer anything. But this, as an employer, is something that should be available to your employees, right? That's people first. Doesn't matter if you never hear it. Making it available to them says you care about them and that you are aware of what women face, the extra vulnerability that comes with being in a place they're not familiar and they're not from. And the Know Before You Go country profiles. This global safety app is launching in January of 2019. It is so super granular. It'll tell you the laws, the rates of assault, recent case law, things that go on, and it's accessible. So that is literally power in the hands of the employee. It's very close to my heart that I share with you. I really believe women need to speak up and show up for sexual assault victims that are their coworkers, okay? And you don't have to have it happen to you in order to care, because leaders think about a need and they fill it. Without being pressed or forced, leaders think beyond themselves. Okay, so we speak up for this generation and for the next one. This crime robs us of the full potential of the women in our employ and in our lives. It takes the next generation of leaders from us and the existing ones. It robs us of the future ideas, right? The solutions, we work so hard every day at our company, right? That's why we toil. We're trying to figure it out. That's what it takes from us. And if we want to create these pathways to women in the higher ranks into the C-suite, then we must clear the debris. And I have such a high belief in women. And I was struck by this when I was preparing. It's Atlanta. You know, I was like, how can I relate this to Atlanta? We're in the town where a woman was turned down multiple times for her idea about helping women. Okay? And a woman gave us Spanx. I mean, she literally answered the call. I mean, we know Sarah Blakely, right? So, thank you. So it's time. It's time to begin that tough conversation. A few weeks ago, I celebrated my 10-year escape-iversary. My Anna-scapery. Okay? I threw myself a big old party, invited all my friends, wore some Spanx moto pants. And I was struck by the fact that when I left Rome, I was terrified. I was angry, and I was afraid I would become bankrupt, because I knew for me, I need to pursue this person, and I did. And he pled guilty, right? So 2 years of my company supporting me, he pled guilty, and it meant everything to me. And I stand on this stage in front of you, okay? I am a successful professional, 15 years at ESPN, I've done okay. And I am a national speaker on this topic, and I am a small business owner for it. I am a tireless advocate for victims, and I am a warrior for women and girls. And it's because I can literally trace it back to the fact my employer took care of me and put my needs first, okay? So I'm living proof. So what I'm asking you to do on Monday is you march in there, in your companies, and you ask the question. You ask the tough questions of them. You show up for women, because victims deserve that. Women deserve that. You deserve that. And by God, please believe, every one of us is worth it. Done.